bad blood. The major story, of course, was the fact that Brian Pillman passed away the night before, and he was scheduled to face Dude Love at the show. This is bad timing, of course. Never a good time for a tragedy like this, but you guys were kind of scrambling that day. You had to have some last minute decisions and matches to just fill and stretch, and unfortunately mix in the middle of all that. But nobody's really thinking about creative at a time like this, are they?
No, it's these situations unfortunately happen, and you got to deal with them, and you have to make decisions sometimes. Not the most popular decisions, but you've got to make decisions, and you have to continue on. Otherwise, things just kind of flounder in chaos. We were at the building in St. Louis, and no Brian Pillman, no Brian Pillman, no Brian Pillman. And Brian had been in the live event the night before. I think we were in Minneapolis, and everyone saw him. Everybody, yeah, no, man, he stayed at whatever hotel. So we tracked down where he was staying. Jim Cornette actually made the phone call, and Cornette called the front desk, and he could tell that there was something wrong, and they wouldn't talk to Cornette. They said, well, we need to speak to somebody in a whatever position of authority. And Jimmy came and got me and put me on the phone, and they told me that they had found Brian dead in his room that morning. And obviously no sign of foul play. And it's one of those that I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and thinks, okay, I'm going to get dealt a friend of yours is going to die, and you're going to have to figure out what to do with the rest of the day because you have a show, an entertainment show that needs to go on that this affects. So to tell you at that point that I knew what the hell to do, I didn't. And, we went in and we spoke to Vince and got JR in there, and we talked about, hey, reports are that Brian was found dead in his hotel room. So that little kabuki-ish, we called Melanie to see, because, look, man, a lot of times you just don't know. And until you hear it from the police or you hear it from family, you don't know. And we called Melody, see if she had talked to him, and she had not. And then we called his agent lawyer, Elliot Pollock, and Elliot had not heard from him. And then my phone beeped, and I picked it up and I looked at it like this, and I said, man, if you're going to go to that place, then get me something. But I digress. It was a confusing time, kind of like it is confusing just, going back and looking at it. Elliot hadn't heard yet. And Elliot called Melanie, and as he was on the phone with her is when the police there in Kentucky or Ohio, whichever state it was that he actually lived in, it was right on the border of Ohio, had come to inform her that they had found Brian dead. So a lot happening really fast, and it's emotional. It's Brian was a friend. Brian was a great guy that, like I said, waking up that morning, that was the last thing that I would have expected to be handed, that day. So it's just kind of threw things into chaos a little bit.
I know it's hard to even think about this, but all these years later, I do want to know, as best you can recall, do you think the Dude Love character, or just Mick Foley in general, was going to be a part of this Pillman Marlena Goldust angle going forward? Or was he simply just a babyface who didn't have a feud at the moment so he could fill the role that was needed for the story?
I think sometimes it's not decided until you're into it.
I got you.
So you can make things happen and look at it and say, we could go with a story on down the line here. And sometimes you have that story. And sometimes you can just say, let's take a left turn here and see where that left turn takes us. We can always correct, make a U-turn and go back, get in the original direction. But I don't think that there was anything specifically planned at this point to take us where we wanted to go.
Let's talk about some lighter notes, some more fun stuff. There was a San Jose house show that happened in this era with Dude Love wrestling Owen Hart in 11 minutes and 2 seconds. It's a false count anywhere match. Austin is going to come in and use a stunner for the finish. But there's lots of fun cartoon violence here where Owen and Mick are having a good time. They're using pieces of carpet. They're even hitting each other with bags of popcorn and selling it. And Meltzer would say that it was a pretty bad match. But to hear Mick tell the story, Owen and Mick were just trying to make Stone Cold laugh, and it worked to the point where his stomach was shaking and tears were rolling down his eyes as they're hitting each other with popcorn, selling it, doing popcorn angels. Of course, Austin is accused of saying in Mick's book as he's laughing, trying to cover his face, "You two are the shits." So clearly they're out there having a good time. Do you remember seeing a circumstance like this or hearing about circumstances like this? I love to hear the guys have
all the time. I mean, look, it's an opportunity to have fun on the live events and do things that you couldn't do on television. There's not necessarily the powers that be on television. Look, there's a lot of things you can do that you can't do on TV. That's just the plain and simple facts of it. So to go out and have fun, and let me ask you, man, have you ever been hit in the head with a bag of popcorn? Because sometimes those kernels can fly off and the salt can get in your eye and it can cause a really bad infection.
I'll have to take your word for it. I don't want to brave that kind of violence myself.
What you ought to do, man, is you ought to go when we finish up today, and fans, do not do this at home. I'm cautioning you right now. Do not, this is our disclaimer. Do not do this at home. But Conrad, I want you to do this at home. I want you to go get a bag of Orville Redenbacher movie popcorn. And I want you to pop it in the microwave. And then I want Megan to just like slap you right across the face with it. Yeah. And then make ha-ha. Make ha-ha.
Let's talk about right
dangerous.
After Bad Blood.
It's dangerous. It's fun. This is a very dangerous game in which we play.